All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the first round of the NFL draft came and went last night. It was a very eventful draft, a lot of surprises, a lot of trades, but we knew that was coming. We didn't know exactly which capacity it was going to come. But, I think a lot of players who I expected to go in the first round are still available. The second round starts tonight at 6 p.m. So we'll probably see a lot of those guys go in the second round. But right here, I have my list of every draft pick that was taken in the first round. I also made a video for most of the first round draft picks, a quick reaction if you guys want to go check that out. But I am going to be giving a grade and assigning a grade to each draft pick. The things I'm going to be taking into account are the position that they were drafted. Was this a position of need for the team? Did they trade up or trade down and still land this guy? A lot of the things factor into the grade for the draft. So we're going to go and get into the grades. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We are literally one subscriber away from 100, and I would so appreciate my 100th subscriber for life. I love you for the end of eternity, and it's that simple. So we're going to go ahead and get into the grades. Let me know what you think of these grades down below. We're going to start first overall. The only certainty of this draft that we knew going into it was that Bryce Young was going to go to the Panthers. Going to give that an A. Really not much to it. It's a good pick. It's a position of need. It's an A, right? And second, CJ Stroud going to the Texans. I'm going to also give this pick an A. I think an A for a couple of reasons. A. They needed a young franchise quarterback to lead this team into the next era. That's thing number one. Thing number two was there was a lot of speculation that CJ Stroud wasn't going to be the pick here at number two. There were people saying that teams were worried about his S2 score and yada, 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 and bullshit, right? So the Texans said, F all that. We're still going to take CJ Stroud. He's our guy. It's an A in my book. Then at pick three, the Texans are back on the board, which was shocking to me. But they made a big trade up with Arizona to get up to number three. We'd heard rumors that Arizona wanted to trade down, and they did. So they traded down with the Texans, and the Texans back on the clock took Will Anderson. To me, this pick is an A plus. He was my best player in the draft, and relative to what they gave up, I don't think that it's that insane of a haul. Um, so I think if you're going to get the best defensive player in the draft, if you get that guy that's going to be a dominant pass rusher for years to come, and you got your franchise quarterback, that is a hell of a draft, even just on its own. I'm going to give that pick an A plus. I love that for Houston. We love it for Houston. I sound like a girl. At pick number four, my heart was broken when the Indianapolis Colts snatched up Anthony Richardson at number four. I really like this pick. Obviously, you guys know I was an AR-15 fan. I think that him going fourth overall to Shane Steichen, the guy who helped develop Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts, two of the best young quarterbacks in this game, they're going to be able to get all of this potential out of him. And, Gardner Minshew will probably be able to start a few games in um, awaitance for Anthony Richardson to be ready. I'm going to give this pick an A. I know it probably sounds boring. I promise you it gets interesting. But I agree with the top four picks so far. Really, really like them. And then going on to number five, I kind of expected my Seahawks to take Jalen Carter here, but they went with Devin Witherspoon, the corner out of Illinois. I have documented proof of this. I thought Devin Witherspoon was the best corner in the draft over Christian Gonzalez. And based on how the board shook out, I'm guessing a lot of teams thought the same way. The next corner didn't go until what, pick 16? Yeah, pick 16 to Washington. So clearly, a lot of teams I think thought that Witherspoon was the best. I like this pick. I thought it's an A. Pair it with Tariq Woolen. Seattle did have a need at outside corner. They obviously have good safeties and they have good slot corner guys, but they needed another strong outside corner opposite of Tariq Woolen. Really like this pick. I'm going to give it an A as well. Now we go on to pick six, who now belongs to the Arizona Cardinals after trading with the Detroit Lions. The Cardinals, who got that 12 from Houston, gave it to Detroit. So now Detroit's at 12. Arizona's at 6. They took Paris Johnson. I think this is an A plus pick. It's one of my favorite picks of the draft. They are prioritizing Kyler Murray. They want to protect him. They want to give him the big franchise left tackle that he hasn't had really throughout his career. You'll never go wrong by hitting on a stud tackle in the draft. And I think by most accounts, Paris Johnson was considered to be the best tackle in the draft, and they got him at 6. They accumulated some extra draft picks to get him, but they took Paris Johnson, and I like this deal for Arizona. At number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders took Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech, the intriguing pass rusher, the one with unlimited upside seemingly. And I'm going to give this pick a B plus. I like the pick. I think that if he pans out, he's going to be a great pass rusher. Then you'll have a really nice duo with him and Max Crosby. But you did just sign Chandler Jones to that big extension, and I think you have a dire need at defensive back. So I'm not really sure. I'm sure that they're going to go with defensive back here in the second round, but I think that maybe this was the time to get one of the premier defensive back players. Regardless, I still like to pick. I think Tyree Wilson's going to be a good player. And I think I'm going to give it a B plus for the Raiders. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. They answer the big question of who is going to take Bijan Robinson. I'm going to give this pick a B, like bordering on a C plus. I love Bijan Robinson. Don't get me wrong, but um, I'm not one of those people that is necessarily jumping for joy when a team takes a running back um, in the top 10. Nevertheless, the top 8, I think the Falcons have a lot of needs. They have a need at quarterback, they have a need at line, they have defensive needs all over the place. And additionally, their running back tandem last year with Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson was pretty good. So I didn't think running back was a need, but I understand that Bijan Robinson is such a difference maker. He's so much better than those other guys that you wanted to take him. I get that, but to me, it just seemed like a little bit of a luxury pick that they couldn't afford. Right? They kind of have champagne taste on a beer budget, if you will. At pick number 9, the Bears traded down one spot with the Philadelphia Eagles, contradicting what they did in the 2017 draft. Oh God, help me. But the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 9 then took Jalen Carter, the explosive defensive tackle from Georgia, and I say explosive both on and off the field. Unfortunately, um, I think this was an A plus pick. Here's the thing with Philly, though. Here's the thing, right? Philly is a Super Bowl caliber team without Jalen Carter. They basically have a freebie top 10 pick because of the Saints trade. And trading up one spot, giving up the fourth rounder, doesn't do anything, right? Fourth rounders or whatever. This is an A plus pick because if it pans out, he's like one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Pair him with Jordan Davis, who he was paired with in college. It's just nuts, right? Now, if it doesn't pan out, um, who cares? Because they're still a Super Bowl caliber team. Like to me, this is like high risk, low reward. Maybe Jalen Carter himself doesn't work out, but the Eagles will be fine regardless. Like they'll be okay. Then at pick 10, I'm gonna give that pick an A plus. Then at 10, the Bears took Darnell Wright to pass protect for Justin Fields. I like it. I'm gonna give it an A. I think that he is one of the best pass protectors in this draft class. That's what he was asked to do the vast majority of the time at Tennessee. I really think that this was a good pick to help Justin Fields. My only concern is two things: is A, I think that he's a much better pass blocker than he is a run blocker, and B, I think that he may play right tackle. He might play right tackle, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but um, I think those are two things that he probably needs to work on. The Bears are going to want to run the ball, so he'll have to get better with his run blocking. Next, at pick 11, the Tennessee Titans took Peter Skoronsky, the tackle slash guard out of Northwestern. I'm going to give this pick a C. I don't really understand why you're taking a guard when you have so many other pressing needs. Your team is going into a rebuild. I don't think there's much question about that. Um, and to take a guard to kickstart it, I don't know if I'm a big fan of that. His arms are probably too short to play tackle at the NFL level, so it's not like you're even getting like a franchise tackle. You know, I don't know. I really just didn't like this pick. I don't know why they did that, but whatever. Speaking of bad picks, my least favorite pick of the draft, pick 12, who went from Houston to start, then went to Arizona, then now is with Detroit. They took Jameer Gibbs, the running back from Alabama. Um, to be completely honest with you, I love Jameer Gibbs. I thought he was a great player. I thought you could squeeze him in at the end of the first round, but to take him at 12 to me is reaching. A, B, you just signed David Montgomery in free agency to a 3-year deal, and you have young DeAndre Swift. Now I get that they fucking hate DeAndre Swift. I mean they got to. They have to just despise him. Um, but but again, you did just sign David Montgomery, so running back's not even close to being a need. I thought this was a really bad pick. I don't agree with it. Um, and I'm flabbergasted is the only word I could say, I guess. Then at pick 13, the Packers, thanks to the Aaron Rodgers trade, took Lucas Van Ness, the pass rusher from Iowa. I'm not a big Lucas Van Ness guy. I think he's a bit overrated, unfortunately. I'm gonna give it a C plus. I think that they probably wanted a guy who's more of a exterior rusher. I think he's a big interior guy. Um, and I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of Lucas Van Ness. So I'm gonna go ahead and take pick 14. They traded it away to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers came right up and took Broderick Jones, the tackle out of Georgia. I love this move. I think that it was a great move, not only to take Broderick Jones right where he should have been, but to swoop right in front of the Jets, who I think definitely would have taken him had he fallen one more pick. They get the guy to protect Kenny Pickett and that young offense, and allow it to flourish a little bit more. I love this pick. I'm gonna give it an A plus. Great job to the Steelers front office. Then at pick 15, I think the Jets were definitely planning on taking Broderick Jones, and then they kind of panicked a little bit when he went to Pittsburgh, a team that kind of leapfrogged them a little bit. So I think that they panicked, but they stood pat. They took Will McDonald, the edge rusher out of Iowa State. Um, I like Will McDonald. I don't think that I like him as top 15. I'm gonna give it a B minus. I think that it's a decent enough pick, but I don't. I think that they kind of panicked and overdrafted a guy just a little bit. At pick 16, I have Emmanuel Forbes, the corner from Mississippi State. I'm gonna give it a C plus. I thought that the pick of corner was really good, but I had two guys on my board above Emmanuel Forbes for the Commanders. Christian Gonzalez and Joey Porter were still right there. Even I had three guys above him on my board. Deontay Banks as well. So I think this is a case of right position of need, wrong player. I think that they overdrafted a guy who does have some skills, yes, but in my opinion, will not be as good as Gonzalez or Joey Porter or Forbes. I'm actually very surprised that Joey Porter didn't go at all in the first round. Maybe teams see something that I didn't, but I had a few guys above him, so I'm gonna give him a C plus. Speaking of one of the guys I had above him, the Patriots then smartly took Christian Gonzalez with the next pick. I'm gonna give this pick an A. I think this is a great pick for Bill Belichick. He gets a guy that is super raw and athletic, and has the potential to be a very, very good corner in this league. What better coach to go to than Bill Belichick in New England? I'm gonna give that an A. That's a great. I mentioned in my previous videos that I think that they needed a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball, and Christian Gonzalez is that difference maker. They did a great job in this draft. Accumulated some extra picks to move down a few spots. Still got their guy in Christian Gonzalez. Number 18, Detroit with another really interesting pick. They took Jack Campbell, um, uh, the linebacker from Iowa. I was bum flustered with this pick, to say the least. Jack Campbell, to me, this pick is a D. I like Jack Campbell. I thought he was one of the better linebackers in this draft, but for two reasons. I thought A, I didn't have a first round grade on him. B, I did not think that the Lions, after signing Alex Anzalone to a 3-year deal, would then take him with the first round pick. I mean, two players that they signed to 3-year deals, they then drafted in the first round. I mean, David Montgomery and Alex Anzalone both got 3-year deals, and then they drafted him in the first round. To me, it just doesn't make sense. I just don't get it. I think they way overdrafted him. And again, not a position of need necessarily. You had other needs to fill on this roster, and you did it. Next, Tampa. At 19, they picked Kalijah Kancey. I kind of said Tampa's just in a bad spot. Then you really need to just go best player available. So they went with Kalijah Kancey. I like it a decent amount. I think that he's a defensive tackle. He's quick. He's fast. He can get after the quarterback. That's really all there is to it. It's nothing too crazy, but I think it's a solid pick. I'm gonna give it a B. At number 20, I was praying to God that the Seahawks thought what I was thinking, and they were. They took Jackson Smith and Jigba, my wide receiver one in the draft. I like this pick for a lot of reasons. A, pairing him with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who Seahawks fans don't want to talk about this, but Tyler Lockett's getting a little bit older, so we don't know how many years we have left of him. Pairing him with DK Metcalf, especially, is going to be so good for this offense. Adds another weapon, a legit wide receiver 2 or 3 that we haven't had in many years. Additionally, I think I was very surprised that he fell this far, so it's good value. But clearly, this is where teams start taking receivers because after JSN, 3 straight receivers went. So clearly, if we didn't pick him, he was going to go to the Chargers or the Ravens or the Vikings or whoever, right? Um, Very happy about that, and I think that we're at a place where the Seahawks, in my opinion, took the best corner and the best receiver in the draft. So that obviously makes me very, very happy. And I have documented proof of that, by the way. So if you guys want to say, "Oh, you're just biased," I have documented proof that that was the case. So whatever. Let's go ahead and check out number 21. Like I said, more receivers went off the board. Quentin Johnston, then to the Chargers. I'm gonna give it a B. I thought that they definitely could take receiver, but I thought they might have wanted to take one of the faster, shorter guys that could stretch the field a little bit more. Didn't necessarily think they'd want to go with another big body wide receiver, but clearly they have a type. That's all right. They went with Quentin Johnston, wide receiver from TCU. Now, if they can figure him out, I mean, he definitely has the speed. I don't know if he has the quickness and the acceleration that some of these other guys do, but he definitely has the speed to stretch the field. If they can figure him out, he could be a legit superstar wide receiver to pair with Justin Herbert. And it's always a good idea to pair your superstar wide receivers with your superstar quarterback. So that would be great for them. Then at pick 22, the Ravens took Zay Flowers out of Boston College. I love this pick. I'm going to give it an A. Lamar Jackson, what a day he had yesterday. Signed his big contract extension with the Ravens and then got himself a wide receiver in the first round. Now you're looking at the Ravens, and receiver has been a position of need for a while, and you're looking and you say, hey, they got Rashad Bateman, they got Odell Beckham, and they got Zay Flowers. I mean, this is a legit, really good receiving core, in my opinion. Zay Flowers, he's going to be able to stretch the field. He's going to be able to get those long bombs. He's going to be a version of what Hollywood Brown was for the Ravens a few years ago. So good for them. Next, Minnesota Vikings, they took Jordan Addison out of USC. Excuse me, I almost said Pitt, but they took him out of USC. I like the idea of having that Batman and Robin dynamic with Justin Jefferson. Um, and I think that, giving Kirk another weapon, I don't know how long Kirk's going to be there necessarily, but I think giving Kirk another weapon is always a good idea. And I think Jordan Addison was my third or fourth best receiver in the draft. So I really liked it. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say on that. Um, Nothing too crazy. It's nothing like it's like going to blow my mind away. I thought they maybe could have gone corner, but Jordan Addison is good nonetheless. Next, the New York Giants moved up to go ahead and take Deontay Banks. Excuse me. I'm sorry. The Vikings had already moved up, but the Giants are now up with Deontay Banks, the corner out of Maryland. I'm going to give this a B. Again, I still had Joey Porter ranked above Deontay Banks, but I think that corner is a good position of need for the Giants, and they definitely addressed the right position. They want to get their defense better. I would have considered, surrounding him with some weapons, but unfortunately for the Giants, the four best receivers went, and there was nobody else worthy of taking in the first round, in my opinion. Tight ends were still on the board, but you did just trade for Darren Waller, so I think weapons were kind of off the board. Um, I think that Deontay Banks, the corner, that was a good position of need for the Bills. I'm sorry, for the Giants, and they did the right thing there. So not a crazy pick, but something that I really liked. Now, at number 25, Buffalo took Dalton Kincaid, most people's number one tight end in the draft, to replace Dawson Knox. I like it. I think obviously adding another great receiving threat for Josh Allen is only going to help that offense. I mentioned in my videos that I thought they would probably want to bring in a wide receiver opposite of Stephon Diggs. They did the next best thing, and they brought in a tight end. Not going to hate on it too much. I'm going to give it an A. He's definitely the best receiving tight end in this draft, and I think that's what the Bills were coveting, so good for them. Another troubling pick at 26, the Cowboys took Mozzie Smith, and I personally have no issues with Mozzie Smith, but I think at 26, especially when you're the Cowboys, that was not a very good pick, unfortunately. I'm gonna give it a D. I really didn't like it too much. It was very confusing to me, and I think that they were flustered by the fact that receivers went early. I thought this was a perfect opportunity for Michael Mayer to go, but I don't know why they did that. I couldn't tell you. At number 27, Jacksonville, they took Anton Harrison, the tackle out of Oklahoma. Good pick. I'm gonna give it a B. I thought he's not one of the premier tackles in the draft, but I like the idea of devoting resources to protecting Trevor Lawrence. He's your guy for the next 10 years. You need to do everything around him. You already gave him the weapons. Now you got to start building the offensive line around him. I really like that. 28, the Bengals took Miles Murphy. I'm gonna give that a B plus. I thought it was a good pickup, a good edge rusher to pair with Trey Hendrickson. And this guy is a really good athlete, and I think that if you can figure him out, and I think the Bengals defensive coordinator is really good, so if you can figure him out, then you have a legit, really good pass rush opposite of Trey Hendrickson. Number 29, Saints went with Brian Brzee, the defensive tackle, also from Clemson. I'm going to give it an A. Really like Brian Brzee. He was one of my favorites. I was hoping he was going to slip down to the Seahawks. He did not, unfortunately, but it's okay. I'm going to give it an A. Good player, good athletic player. I really like what the Saints did there. And then at 30, the Eagles took another Georgia defender, which it seems to be all they're doing these days. Took Nolan Smith. I'm gonna give that a B plus. I think the upside is there for Nolan Smith, and I think that if he pans out, 30 is a bargain. But he does need to get a lot more refined in his pass rushing technique and everything like that. But he's an athletic freak, and if he's only going to be a rotational guy, when those offensive linemen are sitting there and they're dogged at the end of the game, having to cover Nolan Smith's speed is going to be trouble for them. So I like it. I'm going to give it a B plus. And then ending the draft, the Chiefs took Felix Anudike-Uzama. Um, I'm gonna give that a B. I thought maybe there are other positions that they could take, and I thought maybe they overdrafted him a little bit, but I still like him nonetheless, and I think that he could be a quality player for the Chiefs. So that is gonna be my grades for each of the picks in the first round. Let me know what you think down below. Again, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.